Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is episode 6, Matchweek 7. We do not have a theme this week. There's really not a lot going on. And to be totally honest, last week was so bad, both for fantasy and betting for me, that I don't even want to do a show this week. I don't need a theme. I'm tired of it. This whole episode's going to be a long rant for me. Last week's stories, let's just get right into it. Cucho is still not playing, ladies and gentlemen. It is a disciplinary suspension within the team, which I don't think I've ever heard of ever in soccer. A player being suspended by his own coach for something that wasn't a league rule like that.
I'm sure it's happened. I can't think of one. It happens a lot in the NFL.
Do you know why I think I can't think of one? Because it's never happened to fucking Cucho. Like, he's so the best player on the team, you kind of gotta let him do whatever he wants. I really believe, like, if Tom Brady punches the water boy in the face, he still gets to play. It's Tom Brady. They hire a new water boy.
That's the water boy.
Right. So Cucho yelled at an assistant coach, you said?
Yes.
Do we know which assistant coach?
No, and we don't even know that that's exactly what happened. That's
well,
all
I'm
that.
Purely open to speculation.
That's all that they'll say. You know,
right.
It's Wilfred is quite secretive about the whole thing. So that's what he said was he yelled at an assistant coach. But he was out the CCC game this week too, which they would have had a better chance of winning. Both draws against Nashville last week in the MLS game, and then the draw this week against Tigres.
On the other side of the same coin, though, Nashville finding some form. Hani Mukhtar, good week. He's coming back, baby. The hips are aligned. He's good to go. Honestly, I think Cucho on the field, that's a totally different game. I think that Wilfred needs to really get over it, honestly. If
he's suspended again, I mean, he must have said something about the guy's wife or something. I don't know.
This can only last so long to me. Also, LAFC losing 3-2 to the Colorado Rapids. Good game for the Rapids. They're finding their form. I mean, we've been saying...
We spoke about them.
Yeah, every week we've said the future is good, but the right now is not. But it seems like that future is getting closer and closer for them.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. Cole Bassett put up good numbers.
Mahalovic,
definitely.
He had the 2 goals.
Yeah, good week for them. Which, by the way, that free kick was unbelievable. It didn't even look real. It's one of the few games I watched live this week instead of just watching the MLS 360. That free kick looked like a video game.
Yeah, Lurie got frozen.
He didn't move at all.
Yeah, he was clearly screened.
And part of me felt like, come on, Lloris, how do you mess that up? And part of me was like, well, if Hugo Lloris can't save it, no one was going.
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't blame him.
Well, when you bet on LAFC, you do blame him.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Also, Charlotte, 1-1 draw, which means 4 points through probably the 2 hardest games on their schedule, Columbus and Cincinnati. The win against Columbus, the 1-1 draw against Cincinnati, which would have been really exciting had they not been up 1-0 in the 86th minute.
I think it was even later. I really feel like it was.
I thought it was
extra time, like added time.
See, I thought it was like the 88th. Well, that seems like something we could check.
Yep.
Let's see, what minute was that goal in?
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
While we're looking that up, I will say Charlotte, despite the 4 points through those 2 games, still very nerve-wracking. I mean, not like confident points. Which, hey, against those 2 teams, it's probably not going to be. You know, those are games
But they should have closed that game out. That was ridiculous.
Right. Once you're in that position, you got to close that out. And the Cincinnati fans behind us, who I hope, 90 plus 2.
Yep, 90 plus 2.
And Diani with the goal. Big. It was a penalty kick, right?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not notated there.
Yeah, that is weird that they don't say that. But it was a penalty kick. I actually thought Tavares was going to take it again, and I was going to lose my fucking mind, but it was Diani. I'm a little worried about the lack of run-of-play goals from Charlotte here. I feel like they really always need a penalty to get it. Like, they have to get a penalty to get into a
Hopefully
game.
Abado will make a difference. He was fast, man.
Yeah, Abado looked good.
He was.
The first time we saw him.
Fast.
He's quick.
He was really fast. Noticeably.
That's good for Charlotte because they're a very get the ball up the field kind of team. They're not a slow build up tiki-taka offense, you know.
They do from the defense, but then they
get
that last ball, they don't take it through to the final third.
Right.
It's like they get to the middle, and then it's a through or a long ball from the middle instead of continuing that passing attack. It's very odd.
So let's get into last week's fantasy. We played each other last week. I got housed. So we'll go through my team here. 59 points overall. My overall rank now is 1363, so I actually went up a little bit, even though it was a bad week, because I was down in the 1500s. Drake Calendar in the net, 2 points, that didn't work out. I mean, really, the biggest problems here were along the back line. Calendar with 2 points, Jordi Alba with 3 points, Long from Toronto with 3 points, Zawadzki with 6, we'll take that. Through the midfield, I actually, even though none of these guys had huge games, I felt like none of them were bad. Lewis Morgan with 7, Almada with 7, Ricky Puig with 5, and Acosta with 5.
And I had 3 of those 4 guys.
Yeah, and Acosta playing against Charlotte, I mean, I expected more out of him. 5 is not really good.
So did everybody else in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, 5 was not good for the matchup that they had there, but also, you know, you can't get that mad about a 5-point week for a midfield.
No, I was very mad that Cincinnati scored at the end, and Acosta got no points for it.
Yeah, it had nothing to do
It
with
was the double whammy.
Then up top, Bawanga, he was my captain, which was really the wrong decision there. 5 points, so 10 from him. Anthony with 2 points, so that really didn't work out well at all. And then GG with 9. Pretty much everyone had GG in the entire world, so that didn't really help me at all. But it was 9 points, which is nice. It was all DNPs on the bench, and it's going to be all DNPs on the bench this week again. So right now, as far as rankings go, like I said, 1363 overall, and then for the Charlotte FC League, I'm in 27th. We are dropping rapidly, ladies and gentlemen, back out of the top 20. It's very upsetting. Currently, I am behind Capetti FC, and one thing I've noticed when I've started looking at the rankings here is whoever is one spot above you is a piece of shit. Whoever it is, I hate them. It doesn't matter who they have on their team, who their name is. I just don't like them, no matter what.
There are some good names in the Charlotte League, too.
There are some good names in the Charlotte League. There's a few I really like.
I think one is just Tepper Sucks.
Tepper Sucks is great. Minty's Revenge, I like. That's kind of cute. Rank number 9 is Major League Soccer Team. That one I really think is great. Ooh, look at that. I recognize the guy in 12th. I think that brings us into your team. How'd you do last week, John?
Oh, I am in 12th. How about that? I had 81. So I won my head-to-head 81 to 59.
Before we get into that, we skipped over another great name, the Wild Wild Westwood. That's pretty good. Love that.
Yeah, there's some good ones. So I won my head-to-head, which I've said before I don't really care that much about.
That's the one we win money on, by the way.
It's not that much.
It's like $600.
So
if it's not $5,000, I don't care.
So I didn't really. I said last week I didn't really love the defensive matchups.
Yeah.
I had Clark in goal.
Mm-hmm.
I had money to change out a keeper, and didn't. It would have been on my drive home from the game.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't do Guzan because I had 3 Atlanta guys ready the next day. Mm-hmm. So I was already changing other positions on my drive home and didn't even look at the keeper, which my wife was so mad that I pulled over on the drive home to look at fantasy lineups and make changes. She was not happy. But so I got 2 out of Clark. It was not good. I didn't really expect much, but it was what it was. Defenders, I had Rosted and Zawadzki on the bench. And then I had an Otteru out there, New Englander. for $4 million. So it was just going to take the better score of the two, which was Zawadzki. He had 6, like you said. You had him as well. Rostad only had 2. Dos Santos, Michael, on Houston, he got me 4. No clean sheet, but he got 2 bonus points on passes. And that's one of the reasons I liked him over other defenders. So he still got 4, even without the clean sheet.
Right.
4 is not a number you want, but it's better than a 2.
Yeah.
And then I had Brooks Lennon, who I really did like a lot. I liked all my Atlanta players. And he's the one that really showed up the best. 12 points, clean sheet, assist, and he had a point each for passes, key passes, and crosses.
Yeah.
And that's why we liked him. And he does all these different things. Even if he didn't have the clean sheet, he still had 7 points. So, midfielders. So I had originally had Redondo on the field. I wound up having to take him out. He has a left LCL knee injury. He's out for like the next 2 months.
Oh no.
Yeah. And Miami's a funny team because I have liked their matchups. I like their matchup this week.
Yeah.
And there's so many key players that are hurt or out, and he's one of them. So it really makes it tricky on playing Miami players. But
yeah, no, you don't know who's going to be in.
And then who is? Are they going to get points? You know, I like
Right.
Taylor a few times, and he came up with nothing. So Campanas had nothing.
Yeah.
So even with the great matchup, so he was one of my favorite players this week, and then I didn't even know he was hurt. I had Gazdag on the bench, so he was my first player to play. He got 9. That was awesome. The goal, point for a clean sheet because he's a midfielder, and then a point for key passes. So then I put another New England player out to keep him. Acosta's been a staple in my lineup. He got 5 points. It was disappointing, especially with the goal at the end, and he got nothing out of it. Puig got 5 points, also disappointing. And Amada got 7, which 7 points isn't bad. That's kind of your 7, 8 is where you want to be, you know, as a minimum. But I expected a lot more out of him against Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about captaining him, and the only reason I didn't is because my captains are always forwards now. With the way the scoring is, they're always forwards. But I thought about captaining him, so there were 7 teammates that had more fantasy points than him.
Wow.
Yep. And 3 of them were mids or forwards, so it's not just the guys that got the clean sheets. Like, so he was definitely disappointing. Up top, I had Suarez. He did a good job. I had Gigi. He was my captain.
Yeah.
9 points, so 18. So that's normally pretty good. But he came out in the 65th minute, and then his replacement had another 2 goals. And you think about what he should have had,
right.
you know, and you hate to see any of your players come out in the 65th minute.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure they felt like they had the game in hand. So let's get him off. Let's get this other guy some time.
No, you don't coach for player stats.
No. Unfortunately for us. So it was what it was. Originally, I had Cucho out there as my 3rd forward. I played a 3-4-3. We went over the whole team policy thing, why he didn't play.
Yeah.
So I switched him out for Joveljic.
Yeah.
And then on the drive home, I looked at the lineup, saw he wasn't playing, and I put in Rodriguez with Portland, who got me 3 measly points.
Right.
So, I mean, everybody at that point was done. There was nobody to choose from.
Yeah.
Brian White was hurt. Should have went with Pico. I actually thought about Peck. I think he's a great player, but he's had no points this season.
Yeah.
But then he had a goal and had points this game, so it was the wrong choice. But that was my lineup this week. I had 118.6 million. 3 of it I left because of the Cucho. So I only used 115.6. I went way up in money. No individual players lost money this week for me.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. How many is that? 12 went up, and most of them by $500,000.
Yeah, that's big.
Steve Clark was 400,000. Even Jonathan Rodriguez with only the 3 points had 300,000. Then Lennon, Michael, Rosted, Zawadzki, Gazdag, Almada, Acosta, Puig, Gigi, and Suarez all went up to $500,000 max. So I made another $5.7 million, and now I'm up to 124.3. So it is. There's a lot of people that have a lot more. I feel like the increases are bigger this year than they were last year.
Yeah, I feel that way too, actually. And so my team, I didn't do the values. I was at 118.3 million last week. I went up 2.5 mil, so 120.8 now. Going into next week's fantasy, so I am using all of that 120.8.
I didn't talk about my ranking.
Oh, do your ranking. Let me go.
So for Charlotte, I came in 16th for the week, which brought me up to 12th overall. I was at 15, so it's an improvement. 16 is not really good on the week. Really, I feel like 85 to 90 is the minimum score you want now. You know, 100 used to be the standard. I wanted to be 100. I feel like 100 is an exceptional score now.
Yeah.
With the new scoring.
No.
So 85 to 90. So I was a little below that. I was disappointed, and then I kind of thought about it. I'm not as disappointed as I was originally. Overall, I was just over 1,000, 1022, and which brought me a slight increase down to 711 overall. I was 717, so just moving up 6 spots.
Right.
Not really that much. That was it on my rankings.
So now, like I said, 120.8 million to play with next week. Starting off in the net, I have Andre Blake in. I have eaten my words on this Philly sucks stuff recently. They're playing Nashville. I really am not that confident, to be honest with you.
You need to watch that line.
Yeah.
Not play.
So every defender and goalie here is subject to change. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, and you could say if you like Philly defensively in this matchup, putting in if he doesn't play, that could wind up great for you.
Yeah, the backup.
Because you could save a whole bunch of money.
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't know how much I like Philly defensively, because really for me the turning point with them was the Portland game and how demanding they looked despite missing all those guys, you know, and it felt like they really turned a corner here. But Nashville also, I mean, the draw last week, now albeit with no Cucho, but it was 2-2, so it's not like they were goalless, you know. But for now, we're running with Andre Blake in the net. Then across the back line, I have Hollingshead, who has not seen the field on my team yet this year. 6.8 million, kind of looking for a budget defender here, and he has had really no big games. I just feel like he was huge last year, and I think he might be due for one. And especially this game, like El Tráfico, it's going to be fireworks.
I actually thought about him. That's so funny. He's not one of my guys, but I thought about him because it's El Tráfico.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of just attack. Then I got Kai Wagner, then Brooks Lennon. I just really like them against NYCFC, even though they're in New York, and it's a big home field advantage. That field over others. People hate playing at Yankee Stadium, but I mean, you saw even if he didn't have the clean sheet last week, it was still big points from.
Yeah, you like to see a defender that can attack,
exactly,
plays out of position and stuff.
Across the middle, I mean, pretty chalky here to be honest. Acosta, Lewis Morgan, Thiago Almada, and Ricky Puig. All of that, I feel pretty strongly about that. I mean, midfield for me, it's really the same 6 guys on a rotation at this point, and I like those matchups. Then up top, I've got Suarez. He's my captain right now. I think Miami should blow the doors off Colorado. Now, I've said that about a lot of Miami games, so who knows? But I do think Miami will score a lot of goals. Now, I also think they could give up a lot of goals, and that's what I'm worried about here.
Yeah.
And it honestly doesn't. It does make me think Cole Bassett might not be a bad bench player, which I don't have the money for, but some of you might. So look for that.
Well, if Blake doesn't play, you might.
True. That is a good point. Then I got Bouanga. Like I said, I think that game's going to be fireworks, so I got Jovic as well. I think they're both going to have a goal, honestly. I don't see that game being less than 3-2, probably. It's one of the only times I would ever bet an over in soccer.
I've got some historical data for you that
Do you?
completely agrees with everything you're saying.
Well, that's exciting stuff, because I had no data to base this on, so it's nice to know that the numbers work out here. Everyone on the bench, all 4 millions right now. Again, kind of subject to change. We'll see what happens with this back line. And we'll see, if I do end up having to cut someone in the midfield to make money for somewhere else, or, what would really be great is Suarez doesn't play at all so that he can't score a bunch of goals against me either. Now I have to go with a cheaper striker, and that'll free up some money somewhere else.
Right.
But as long as Suarez...
Cucho for 0.3 more.
True. But as long as Suarez is expected to play, you really just got to put him on against the Rapids, So we'll have to spend the money there. But that's what I got. What are you looking at for next week?
So there's no double game weeks. That is worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always do, I have some teams I want to go over. I like Vancouver this week. It's the first time I've said that since week 2 when they played Charlotte. And that they're actually very disappointing then, and I haven't really liked them much since.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been pretty good of late. They're averaging 2 goals per game on the season. And this is also a play against Toronto without Insigne. He's out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. And I will probably bet against them on the road a lot.
Yeah.
I like Columbus. If Cucho's playing, he hasn't played in 2 weeks. He's got plenty of rest. And he's coming off a bad game, too.
Right.
That's why I liked him last week. He's still coming off this bad game, and he's been waiting to play now. So
yeah.
I think he's going to blow up. And not playing midweek, I think it's great for his MLS.
Yeah.
Bad for Columbus in that tournament because they came away at home with a draw against Tigres. Now they got to go to Mexico, and I really don't like their chances.
Yeah, no.
But Columbus averages 2 goals per game at home, and they've only let up 1 goal in their 3 home games. So I like them overall, not just their attack. I like Cincy defense at home. I'm a little worried about the Red Bull offense, though.
Yeah.
I think they're strong, man. I think they're getting close to LA Galaxy strong with that attack.
Yeah, well, and Lewis Morgan, Forsberg, they've found their
And we haven't
rhythm.
seen them together yet.
True. But individually, they found their rhythms when they play.
So now put them together. Now it could be a little difficult at first. They might have to get used to each other, but that could be a powerhouse. But they've had 3 home games, and all 3 were clean sheets.
Yeah, that's
and their 3 road games, they've allowed exactly 1 goal in each of those games. So defensively, they're very strong. They have all clean sheets at home, so it's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah.
Even as a bench play, because they have the 7:30 game. So a defender or keeper on the bench for a possible Oru. I like Miami attacking players. You just talked about Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
They're averaging 2.5 goals per game at home. Colorado is giving up 2 goals per game on the road.
Gotcha.
So that is expecting 3 or 4 goals with that scenario,
Yeah.
But I'm worried about the forward scenarios. So I don't think Messi's playing still.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything.
But if he does start, I don't know that I like anybody on Miami. I don't like him because coming off this injury for this long, his first start, he's not playing 90. He's coming off at 60.
Right.
So now he didn't play that. He only played 60, and he took time away from other guys.
Yep.
If he dresses, does Suarez or Campana come out for him in the 60th minute so he can play 30 minutes to get back into it? So ideal scenario, Suarez starts, Messi doesn't dress.
Yeah.
Then I love Suarez. So I like all the attacking players in El Tráfico. Okay? So I told you I had some numbers. So on this season, both teams are averaging over 2 goals a game scored.
Big.
Okay? The Galaxy is allowing almost 2 goals per game on the road.
Mm-hmm.
LAFC's defense has been really good at home, but the Galaxy is not like the teams they played before.
Yeah.
So the last 11 times they've played this game, the Galaxy has scored 2 or more goals in 10 of those 11 games. Home or away. Doesn't matter. 2 or more goals in 10 of the 11 last times they played.
Yeah.
The last 6 times that LAFC was at home in this matchup, 5 of those 6 games, they scored 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, this game is just packed with goals in its history. So, I mean, those are numbers that make you go, I should be taking a lot of attacking players from these teams.
Yeah.
Which is, I kind of am hoping against Cucho or Suarez playing to get Jovic in my lineup because he's not right now.
Yeah.
But I'm scared to sit those other guys with what they've got going on. So,
Right.
I like the Austin attack. San Jose's let up at least 2 goals in all 6 of their games this season. And Austin scored 2 goals in 3 or 4 at home. So
yeah.
I like St. Louis. I don't love their defense, but I like it more than most of the other matchups.
Right.
Okay. Just like last week, I don't love a lot of the defensive matchups. But they average 1 goal per game allowed at home. And they have 1 clean sheet. So it's not bad.
Right.
But it's not stellar. Dallas has 1 goal per game on the road. So
yeah.
It's a potential clean sheet spot.
For sure.
They're hard to predict. Attacking-wise, they're scoring almost 2 goals a game. And FC Dallas is allowing exactly 2 goals per game, home and away.
Gotcha.
So they let up a lot. The last team I'm going to talk about is Seattle. It's the late game, so you may need someone in a switcheroo kind of option. And that's more of a play against Montreal than for Seattle.
Right.
We say every week how much you hate Seattle.
I hate them.
And every week you're right. And every week I talk about why I might play Seattle players. But Montreal's been shut out in 2 of their 5 games.
Yep, including last week against DC.
Yep. And they've allowed over 2 goals per game in their last 3.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah,
so you kind of steer towards Seattle, even though they're not great. They're at home, but against a team that's been pretty bad. And we were excited about them at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then they just...
Well, and I will say this about Montreal. They were in no way like my pick to win a trophy. But I do think they score and give up a lot of goals. So for fantasy, I love them because they're gonna be points on that field. There just will be for and against them.
So for my keepers, I've always done keeperoos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I want to dedicate money to that. I will probably start a 730 keeper on my bench with a 4 million guy. And then if there's money left over because Cucho didn't play or Suarez didn't play and I made some money and there's enough, then I'll do the keeperoo like I should have done last week. I still have the option.
Right.
But it's not worth putting the money there. Last week's keepers. Do you know how many had more than 3 points?
I'm going to guess 6.
4.
Wow.
Only 4
I guess
keepers.
Kind of low on purpose, too.
Only 4 keepers had more than 3 points last week.
Yeah, that's rough.
And those were the 4 that had clean sheets.
Well, you can't really get that many bonus points.
No, you can't. That's why keepers are just garbage now. Now, of the 3 that got, the 4 that got the clean sheets, 1 only had 7 points. He got the 2 for playing over 60 minutes, and the 5 for the clean sheets. And that was it. The other 3 guys had 8 points. They also got a point for 3 saves.
Wow.
So no keeper got over 8 points last week.
Yeah, well, and what
you can't
really
dedicate 12, 13, $14 million there.
Part of what makes that tricky is the more saves that your keeper is forced to make to get those bonus points, the more likely they are to let one in. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. Like, you want them to get shots on to get bonus points, but you also would like them to not have to save it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the big points is on a PK save, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
But that's worth as much as a clean sheet.
Yeah. I mean, one, the PK's got to happen. 2, it's got to be on frame, which is not a given in this league anymore, apparently. Then they have to, so do they get the point if it just misses the net?
I don't know, because it's not a save.
Right.
And it wouldn't go down as a save
for the goal that you wouldn't get the
stats.
stat. So I don't think they get points for that.
No, I think they have to actually save it.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. So 3 keepers that I'm looking at are Takaoka, Berkey, and Fry.
Mm-hmm.
They kick off at 7:30, 8:30, and 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
So there are potential options there. So starting either Takaoka or Berkey will be likely. Berkeley's only like 5.5 now. Last year he was like the most expensive goalie through most of the season.
Yeah.
But they have, I think, 1 clean sheet on the whole season, so his points just keep going down.
Yep.
I may like Schulte. Like I told you, I like some of the things about Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
But he's expensive. He's $1.4 million more than any of those 3 goalies I just named.
Wow.
He's over $2 million more than Berkey.
Yeah.
So I just don't know that it's worth it. I mean, I'll probably roll with Takaoka or Berkey,
Mm-hmm.
and then if they don't get what I need and there's still money, I'll go Fry. If not, I'll just take what they give me.
Right.
Defenders, I like Zawadzki again. I had him last week. Did you say you liked him this week? Or you had him last week?
I had him last week. I thought about him this week, but he's not in right now.
So I kind of like their matchup. Same reason I like Schulte.
Yeah.
But he does get bonuses on passes, key passes, and clearances. So he can still get you points. So I'm looking at Jake Davis, Alex Roldan, and Josh Yarrow. And I'll probably take 2 of the 3 because they all get bonus points in multiple categories. And I've talked about their teams. I like some of their matchups. Cincinnati guys, I told you I'm always considering. But Robinson and Miazga are like the 2 most expensive defenders in the game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rough. Yedlin got some points last week. He looks like he's part of the team now.
Yep.
I mean, with everybody back, now Keller doesn't play. That was our favorite guy for the price and what he did. But again, they're expensive, and I'm scared of that New York Red Bull attack. So I'll probably stick with the guys that I named. Thought about Gressler Alba, and I still might because of their attack, not the defending.
Mm-hmm.
If Miami's going to score, one of them will very likely be involved in that attack.
Yeah,
they get assists, they get crosses, they get passes and key passes.
Right.
So, I mean, you could get 7 or 8 points out of them without even getting a clean sheet. And you'll take that. A lot of your defenders are only getting 7 or 8 points with the clean sheet.
Yeah.
So, there's some things that I'm thinking about. Veselinovic on Vancouver. I like his matchup.
Yeah.
I talked about Takaoka. But he gets bonuses on clearances and passes too.
Yeah.
And he's pretty affordable, so I like him as well. So that's my defenders. With mids, like I said, I always like Cucho. I'm actually debating him this week because there's guys that I don't normally have in that I actually do like. I like Driussi this week. He looks like the Driussi of old. Like, he was hurt at the beginning. He kind of slowly got in, worked in more time, and he looked really good last week. I like his matchup. Besides that, I don't have a lot of confidence in San Jose, especially defensively. They're on 2 guys on red card suspensions. They finished that last game with 9 guys.
Yeah, that's big.
And one of them's Yule. The other one's Judd, who's a forward.
Mm-hmm.
He's been playing for Bobasay.
Right.
But Yule is a really big role in their midfield.
Yeah.
So I think that'll hurt them defensively too, not just attacking wise. I like
less time on the ball and everything.
Right. Yeah. I think Toronto's defense will get hurt that Insigne's not there, even though he doesn't really defend. He keeps the ball up top.
Right.
So
exactly.
I like Puig. Love the Galaxy in the matchup. I told you that. Puig and Painsil. Week 2, they both had a great week.
Mm-hmm.
Then they've gone back and forth.
Yeah.
Puig was good in weeks 3 and 5. Painsil was good in 4 and 6.
Yep.
So I'm going to hope that continues, which puts Puig in 7. So, and I just think this is like one of their biggest games of the year, and he's just going to come up big. He's a big-time player that comes up big, and this is just why you like Hollinshead for this game. So I like Atuesta.
Mm-hmm.
He's been their midfielder now that gets points. Tillman has somewhat as well, but he's been double-digit points the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's big.
And I like him and Belonga together.
Mm-hmm.
He's also on a price rise.
Yeah, that is nice.
So he is probably, regardless of his score, going to get you another $500,000.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about for people that might be debating between him and someone else. Or if you have money on your bench and you didn't really want to start him, if you can put him on your bench and he's a 7:30 game, if he plays well,
throw him in.
Yep, you throw him in. If not, he's still probably going to get you $500,000.
Right.
Yeah, 500,000. That's right. So that's always something that people should be thinking about. I like Gold. He's just so involved in that team.
Yeah.
And there's so many different categories he gets bonus points. My last thing's forwards. I pretty much like 4 of them, so I got to whittle that down.
Yeah.
Or it might get whittled down for me, based on the lineups and everything.
Right.
Cucho and Suarez, I've already talked about why I like them. And either one of them could wind up getting whittled down on their own.
Yeah.
And then Bouanga and Joveljic in El Trafico. I don't really have anything else to say on forwards. I think those are just the obvious guys this week. If you're looking for something cheaper, Adinaran or Klaus. I like Adinaran better, but he doesn't play as much. Klaus has 1 goal this season, and it was on a PK.
Wow, yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, Adinaran had much less playing time, has so much more output. He's their future. They need to start playing him.
Yeah.
And then Brian White or Pico on Vancouver. Kind of a similar situation. When White doesn't play, Pico scores a ton. Assists, goals, but he doesn't play as much. If White is still out, I think he was on concussion protocol. So I doubt he'll still be out again, but if he is and you're looking for an affordable forward, Pico is definitely your guy. And he'll be on a price rise as well.
Right.
So that's kind of nice too.
So now moving into the betting. So last week, 0-5. The first time it's happened to me this season. I knew it was coming.
Everybody thinks, if I bet 5 games, I'm not going to lose all 5.
Yeah, no, it
happened.
It's the Chris Moneymaker story.
Yeah.
If you don't know that story, please find that. But essentially, Chris Moneymaker is a pro poker player. You may also know him as just a degenerate gambler who got lucky that one time. But him and his dad used to play blackjack together, and they racked up, was it $60,000?
At least.
It was about $60,000.
It was a big number.
Playing blackjack. And then there were 4 NFL games that he bet $15,000 on a piece. And he was like, they're all locks. We're going to double the money minimum. And then they all lost. And he had to start over. And then he won the World Series of Poker.
Lucky.
So,
yeah,
I
think $1 billion,
decided
man.
that this 0-5 does not define me. What defines me is next week. So we are going to go through these. First game is Minnesota United. Obviously lost to the Union. Timbers lost to the Whitecaps. Then we had Red Bull, Orlando City. Miami, New York City. That was a draw. That hurt. And then the Rapids LAFC match. That hurt as well. So really not a ton of good stuff there. But looking forward to next week. The soccer gods have smiled upon me. I want to thank the MGM Lion for blessing me with $100 in bonus bets, and I have gotten a chance to redeem myself here. So with my $100 in bonus bets, we're still going 5 games, $20 a piece, but we got the chance to get it back now. So first game, Timbers over Sporting Kansas City. I've been riding this Timbers train. They're plus 280. I just love that number, and it's bonus bets. I gotta get some money back here. To be honest, if I lose all the bonus bets, I have lost no money. So I like 1 or 2 outside.
How many of the games that you lost last week did you bet on the away team?
Let's see. Quite a few, actually. So Minnesota United, that's 1. Timbers 2. Red Bulls 3. Miami was home. LA. So 4 of the teams were away last week.
And they lost.
Yes.
And so your first bet is an away team.
Right. Well, because here's the thing. It's the law of averages, right? At some point, an away team has to win again. Also, when we do the fantasy part, you can focus on the numbers and everything. This right here is pure gut, all right? This is my segment of the show.
Okay.
And we're going to go wild over here.
Okay.
Next game, I got Minnesota United, which are at home. Paying plus 110, which is why I don't really bet on home teams that much, because you just don't. Now, it's better to win than it is to lose. So, winning at plus
if you
110.
Bet $20.
Sure.
Either way, you're losing $20.
Fair.
But instead of losing $20, you're going to win just over that.
Right. So we'll see how Minnesota
110, so $22.
Yep. So Minnesota United are playing Real Salt Lake. I honestly think they need a comeback game after last week. Real Salt Lake's a very beatable team for them,
especially on the road.
Yeah.
I actually like Minnesota this week.
No, I think that's a good game there. Then I got Atlanta United on the road. They're plus 250 playing NYCFC. They're just so the better team. And
they are.
I know NYCFC they have a bigger home field advantage than other teams.
Where are they playing?
They're in New York. I said on the road already.
Yep, in
Yankee Stadium,
which is the worst away venue for teams.
Now, what I will also say, I like Almada in tight spaces.
It's a small field.
Atlanta's not a team that I'm worried about them playing at Yankee Stadium because they're not a stretch the field long ball offense. Like they're pretty ticky tacky.
And this is plus 250.
Yeah, plus.
I would take a chance on that.
I like
that's $50 on a $20 bet.
Then we got Inter Miami at home against the Rapids. That is minus 125. I also, which I'm not betting.
I like that depending on the lineup.
Yeah.
I would check the lineup before that game.
Yeah, and don't forget, depending on who you're betting with, I always use BetMGM just because that was the one that had the best intro bonus. But with them, before the game starts, you can still cancel your bet. So if those lineups come out and they're ridiculous, you can usually cash out on time. Sometimes you don't get your full money back if it just came out that Messi isn't going to play and Suarez is going to play and Campana's dead or whatever. The odds might change and you might lose a little.
They'll just put Gressel up top.
True. Good point. And then I didn't bet it, but I do think it's worth noting here. The over-under in that Miami game, 2.5. Over is minus 150. I don't see how there's not more than 2.5 goals in that game. I would never bet a soccer over, really. But that's one that you might think about.
El Tráfico, depending on the numbers, one I would think about.
El Tráfico is another good one, which that is 3.5. The over's plus 105. So, I mean, historically, it's...
Yeah, I mean, the last one, though, was 2-0.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
3.5's a big number.
Yeah. No, that scares me, and I personally wouldn't touch it, but, if you're a parlay guy and you want to go crazy with,
I think that's a fair number.
If you're thinking LAFC to win parlayed with the over, I don't think that's a ridiculous bet, and it's going to pay out pretty good. And then to close it out, I got Charlotte FC on the road against the Revolution. They're plus 210, which was really part of the reason here. Also, I haven't bet on Charlotte at all this season. The only time I've bet a Charlotte game, I bet against them, and then they won. So, New England is just not good. They just got destroyed in Foxborough by Club America.
That's the worst difference for a home MLS team in that tournament.
Yeah.
In the history of that tournament.
No, it's a bad look.
I think it might be tied for the worst. I think somebody else lost.
In some ways, it makes you think New England needs a comeback game.
No.
But I just don't.
No, they're just bad.
I don't believe in them. And also Charlotte, 4 points through two big, much better teams than New England.
Yeah.
Teams that would wipe
And Abada should start this week.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a difference maker on that team. That team is better with him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to actually see that.
I think there's good stuff there, and that game was plus 210. I'm not sure if I said that. But yeah, those are the 5 picks. John, is there anything you want to say to people before we close out?
No, I don't.
All right.
What's the same thing I say every time?
Check your lineups, guys.